Probably one of the more light-hearted chapters, actually. Prepare yourselves. You have picked a terrible person to jump. Don't give me that look. When I know you don't have the stomach to sit through raw brutality. Hours passed, and after the last of the bottles of wine were consumed, and after the final game was played, Ted moved around to one of the windows. Staring out at the window, looking down at the city lights illuminating the empty city streets. You could hear some background talking as Tim and Brian were leaving Jennifer's Seaport District apartment. Jennifer was engrossed in conversation with Michael, and they seemed to be getting along quite famously. Samantha walked over to him with the glass still half full. He turned to her, thinking he mustn't let his guard down around her. After all, she was the one who got him involved in them. Initially, she could pry out of him secrets he wanted to remain hidden. He didn't want to know them himself. She joined him, sitting on the wide windowsill. She returned his smile back to him, and he thought the smile was genuine, with authentic happiness and sincerity. She said, "Ted, I have a question, and I hope I don't come off as offish. I hope you don't mind." "I don't mind at all. The mood is out, the wine is delicious, and any matter of question is allowable." He smiled, and yet he felt exhausted. But because a question is allowed, it doesn't necessarily mean I'll answer. "Okay," she replied. He could tell she was put off by his answer. "Perfect. We didn't do anything to offend you 2 weeks ago, did we? We were concerned that something might have happened to you when we didn't see you, and we were especially concerned when Jennifer told us you would be here at 1, and still no response when you were late." She let out a nervous laugh. "I think Jennifer thought you might have died on the way here." "Well, as you can see, I am here now and not dead," he replied. "I don't mean to cause concern, as I did not come to think me to be part of this, how did she put it, part of this dysfunctional family. As such, I didn't think my absence would play a major part in your day's concern, as you and I only met 3 weeks ago." "Okay," she nodded. "Then, do you consider yourself part of us, then?" She looked at him seriously. "Answer me honestly. You have a hiddenness about you. I'm having a hard time reading you." He smiled. "I don't intend to keep anything from you, but I will speak on such matters required for our relationship, and nothing more. I'm difficult to read, so you say, and this is the first time I'm hearing of it. Because there is some sense of mystery about you. All I really know is what you do and where you are from. I don't know what your likes and dislikes are. Does anyone?" She answered again, pushing for some non-ambiguous answer. "I suppose I like working. I guess that is one thing. About that," she interrupted him, "how many hours do you work? From what I hear, you are something of a workaholic." "I suppose one could say that," he chuckled. He looked up at the ceiling. I work about as much as 116 hours a week." "What?" She repeatedly blinked. She couldn't believe her ears. "Can you repeat that?" 116 hours a week, he answered. He was careful to retain that smile. I thought that's what you said. How can you possibly maintain that? She exclaimed. Do you even sleep? I sleep enough, he replied. She realized something underneath his eyes with the jaded expression of a man who knew little sleep. Ted, how much do you sleep? I sleep enough, he replied. No wonder he can go out and just buy a $1,200 bottle of wine. Why do you work so much? Do you even have something you would consider fun? I find work fun, and it keeps me occupied. You're avoiding the question, she accused. No. I'm answering the question. The truth can be so hairy. Like I said before, I will answer your questions and reveal some of myself as necessary. For our relationship. He kept a smile, but his tone lowered an octave. That's not the same thing, she exclaimed. It's not the same thing. You're avoiding the... Miss Harris. I believe you might have had a little much to drink, he suggested. Might it be time to retire for the night? Perhaps you're right. Sam looked down at her glass, which was now half empty. I'm sorry, Ted, I shouldn't have said anything. Can you find it in yourself to forgive me? I'm afraid I cannot. There's nothing to forgive. There's no reason to be sorry. Humans are humans. He smiled at her. I'll leave you to your view then. Will we see you Tuesday? Sam asked. Time, I suppose, will tell, assuming I don't have any fires in the market to put out, he answered. But look, I know that we just met you, and us going out of our way to make you part of our little group may seem off-putting, and for that I apologize. I hope you will see that we mean you no discomfort. She stopped speaking for a moment to allow him a moment for a response. Seeing that there was no response, she said, That will have to do for now. She took her wine glass and went over to Michael, who wrapped his arm around her shoulder again. Ted took to the window again and looked at the black, empty sky. The darkness was familiar to him. It was like the murky waters of the Dead Sea filled with nothing but hopeless light. His eyes were beginning to droop and his attention shifted to his hand. His hand was not twitching, as was common this time of night. It was all meaningless, as you say. Then why don't we all just lie down and die? Why are you not trembling? What is different? The door closed behind him. He turned to see only Jennifer in the room. She smiled to him as she took her glass with her to sit with him and stare emptily out of the window down the city lights. She lit her a sigh of relief. Well, that was fun. Did you enjoy yourself, Tedward? She asked him. Well, it certainly wasn't dull, and I'm sure I have you to thank for that. He smiled back at her. The moonlight was oppressively pushing down his spirits. So, tell me, Tedward, what is one thing I don't know about you? She asked him. Answer, and I'll reveal something about myself. He hesitated. So there is something human about you after all, she laughed. Her eyelids dropped down halfway, leaving her smile. He could have sworn there was something sinister behind her watchful gaze. Well, I suppose it's been a while since I've played 20 questions, but I can't help but think that's not how it works. He chuckled. I suppose you'll have to ask me something specific. Isn't that how it works? Okay. Jennifer smirked. So, that's how it is, you sly little fox. I think I'm much closer to a wolf, he joked. Perhaps a wolf raised by foxes. She let that sink in. Oh, my dear. So, I'm a deer now. You are whatever your sweet little self wants to be. You'll be a deer, a fox, a wolf, or something else, or some other cute little characteristic attributed to all animals. So here's my question. Forgive me if I already asked, but I cannot recall. Have you any siblings? There are those that I would have called brother and sister, he answered. Well, were they half-siblings, full-siblings, adopted? I suppose you could say they were adopted siblings, he answered coldly but retained a smile. She smiled, satisfied with the answer. Now, Tedward, I believe it is your question now to ask me a question. I believe it's your turn now to ask me a question. As reserved as you are, surely you have a question. I have many questions, he replied. Sadly, very few, if any at all, involve people. Then I beg you to make a question for me. What would pique your interest about me? She leaned closer to him. What are you doing, Jennifer? I suppose this one I can ask. What do you find peace in? Yes, revealing nothing else, he merely retained that smile as he asked it. I suppose I haven't given it much thought. I suppose if I found anything else that gave me peace, is that I can be of some help to someone along the way with this very short life I've been given. Like many, I will not live for very long. Humans do not live very long lives, as they used to say. What was it before they all started digesting liquid detergent? YOLO! You'll only live life once! Her face went dark. I guess I find the opposite to be true. You live and die just as many times as the other, and they equally plague us. Like both are a disease that must be vaccinated. But life's vaccination is death, and death's vaccination is life. How very Tao of you, he said. Her smile returned as she laughed sheepishly. Then, it is my turn then. What do you find a peace in? I'm not sure if I like that question, he snickered. And was it not the same question I asked you? Yes, it is. Is this question a little too revealing, Tedward? She laughed like a little cat tugging on its yarn of string. I asked you that to find an answer for myself. You could say that, but also know you'll not like the answer, he replied. Her face went graven again. Look, Ted, I will decide if I like the answer or not. If I like it, then you would be pleased you were wrong. If I don't like it, I suppose you will be satisfied knowing you were right all along. But I'll accept whatever answer you give me, as it was my question that I asked. The point of this was to know some facet of you that is hidden beneath that shell. They say darkness loves company, but it hates what's on the surface, as the surface is where truth lies. Well, they say darkness can't live in the light, he said. She smiled again. That is something true you just said. She paused. Now, might I have my answer? Well, I suppose it doesn't matter if you would like the answer or not. So I don't have a reason to deceive you. His voice dropped. Tedward. Her voice dropped, and she tilted her neck. I know you may not think that we know you, and you're right, we don't know you as well as we would like, and I suppose you don't have a reason to trust me, but I trust you. I might not reveal all my little secrets just yet, but I trust you. He let her sigh, but he kept on smiling. I suppose I don't find much of anything peaceful. I work a lot and don't leave myself time for such luxuries. His voice dropped as he broke eye contact with her. Ted? Do you know why I chose life as a stockbroker? He asked. He didn't let her answer. It was the one job in the world that I could think of that would let me work around the clock. I barely sleep. Maybe I am lucky if I sleep more than 30 minutes at a time. He paused, looking back into her eyes, trying to analyze her reaction. She patiently waited for him to finish, looking him in the eyes, nodding. I have no peace within myself, so I drown myself in work, hoping to keep my mind occupied. Does it work? She asked. Yes. He replied. Is it worth it? I don't know, he replied. I think I've spoken enough of myself for one night. I think it's time for me to go back. Home? She asked. That is such a funny word, he said, standing up, leaving his wine glass on the nearby coffee table. I've been in many countries and moved countless times. I don't think I've ever been into a place I would call home. Frowning, her eyes glazed over. Ted, that is so sad. She went to grab his hand. He pulled it away. Look, before you go, I know you have to leave. Perhaps it was wrong for me to push you to come tonight. Perhaps it is my fault. And this was wrong of me. I didn't know that bringing you here would bring back so many memories. Painful and reminders of what you once had. Or never had. And maybe never get the chance to feel again. She sucked in her teeth as she looked him carefully in the eye. He took a step back. I know that I can't imagine what it is you missed because I don't know you and I'm not going to pretend I do. I will say that I want to know you. Now, I'm sorry for pushing you to come. And I hope you can forgive me. I want to know you more, and I hope that I've made it clear that I want to be your friend, and I'm not going to push you anymore to tell me what you don't want me to know. I thank you, Jennifer, he answered. I must be going. He turned around and walked to the door. Ted, will we see you on Tuesday? She asked, just as the door was still slightly ajar. Time will tell, he answered truthfully. And that is the first part of Chapter 12, Raw Brutality. Well, that is all we have time for today, and have a wonderful, wonderful day, and thank you for reading, Tedward. Don't call me Tedward. You haven't earned it.